When he comes, the Spirit of truth, he will guide you along the way of all truth. He will lead you into all truth. My dear friends, we do not belong to a society, a movement, or a club. We belong to a divine body, the mystical body, and only in it are we promised this guidance. We have witnessed in these last days a gust of the Spirit. It was fairly quick, given a large number of cardinals, the way that the conclave found the man that the Lord had chosen and prepared. A man anchored in prayer, charity, and balance. A man for the hour, the troubled hour. A period of calm lies ahead, we pray. We must not get into any mode of infighting or division. Don't go there. Be motives of upbuilding and bonding. Be positive in your conversation. Our real enemies are outside, not inside. It is said that the Holy Father is a great listener. That is important actually in the religious life in which he comes, and especially in a role of guidance within that which he had. I would like to zoom into that this afternoon because it is something that we need to handle personally. Observe. Can you see here the statue of St. Benedict? He actually is slightly later than St. Augustine and uses some of his rule. Benedict codifies specifically monastic life based not on the priesthood, he was not a priest, but on the desert of Egypt, and making it westernized and temperate, but drawing on the best of the East. And one thing comes through, and it's this, which I find also on this icon, which actually the Cistercians, the Trappists of Roscrea, who now contain 3 communities, one of Mellifont nearby, and that of Mount Melleray, the Mother House, at Our Lady of Silence. They have taken on as their, as it were, sign, this icon, well known, Our Lady of Silence. Again, with the same gesture as St. Benedict, the index finger over the sealed lips. Pone Domine custodiam ori meo, the priest says silently. Place, Lord, a guard over my mouth. And there's a reason for that. I mentioned that the Holy Father knows how to listen. Now, over the years, many years now, I've seen the difference between how this element of being superior is exercised well and not so well. And the key is there. Is the superior a listener? Because if he's not, what will happen? His mouth will be perpetually open, especially if he's that way inclined. And although the ears are opened, they are blocked. Because he's thinking about what to say and he's emitting. So all the time he has things to say, he's not learning. And this can happen if he's of a certain age, he can become deaf. So what happens to deaf people is that they get out of the habit of listening and protect themselves by always talking. It's very dysfunctional. because one has to pick up actually what is not even said. One has to pick up what is being hinted at. That applies also to human relationships in general. A courting couple, a married couple, friends. Are they actually engaging in a two-way communication process? Now, you married people, ask yourself, how do you resolve an issue? You have a choice. You can insist upon your point, which could be the correct point, but you can actually do so in a way which is not correct. You can raise your voice. You can actually make an unpleasant atmosphere. However important the issue was, the atmosphere is now the issue. Was it worth it? I always tell young couples before they marry, learn before it happens to dialogue without creating an atmosphere. Usually the solution is not absolute, either or, in Latin, out, A-U-T, but et, both, and a certain amount of leeway can help. Now, for those engaged either in counseling as psychoanalysts, whatever they might be, psychologists, psychiatrists, or priests, there is one thing in common. They have to be expert listeners. They have to know exactly what's going on, and that'll only come out by just asking enough to find out where the problem is, so as to not be wasting time on what is the result of the problem, the symptom of the problem. Some years ago, a traveling person went to San Giovanni Rotondo. It's not that long ago actually, but maybe 3 years ago. He took with his mobile phone a picture of the confession box of St. Pio. And he afterwards found this on the snap. Now, you can't see it clearly from where you are, I think, but you might. So I'll tell you what's on it. It's the confession box, and you've got Padre Pio, long after his death, therefore, in this position, the ear next to the grill, one ear listening. The other day we had the memorial of St. Leopold Mandi. He was at Padua, his relic is there, the body, and also the right hand, miraculously preserved intact, the hand that absolved all these sins. And there is a picture of him with a very small body, because he was tiny, and a disproportionately large right ear, because that was the organ of communication. He was an expert at listening. There are advantages, actually, in still using the old confession box. Because when one can't see the person, but only hear the voice, one tends to have one's ear right next to the grill. And the voice is very clear there, because the penetrance is leaning in that mode, as you know, against the grill. So the mouth is just on the other side of the priest's ear, through the grill. He hears every word, and he listens carefully. There's no distraction. One doesn't care who's there, one only sees the soul. That's the important bit. And one doesn't get waylaid in conversation about other things. It's quicker, and it's more to the point. There is this teaching in the reading from St. James, a very practical writer, which is for each one here. Let each one be quick to listen, slow to speak. He goes on, and slow to be angry. Now, slow to speak means going into a progressive mode of not feeling that one has to always talk. Observe human life. Quite often, is it not true, in conversation we are not comfortable with a pause or a silence. We have to fill it up immediately. And moreover, shyness can be covered over with a lot of talking, usually fairly useless. A great talker can be actually hiding an insecurity. In a person who actually goes into listening mode perpetually, both vertically and horizontally, because the same dynamic is at work, he goes into a different mode of existence for all aspects of life. That of not output, but reception, input, perception, openness, and sensitivity, picking up the least thing. Now, do you see how the talker will be his own worst enemy? Therefore, there are tricks. In your next conversation, try this mode. Wait. Do enough in the mode of output to keep the conversation going without leading it, without dominating it. And you will find that you have learned a lot more by the end of it. Bring that also unto him. When you come into his presence, let him do the talking. That means in practice, don't be afraid of absence of words. You don't have to be always saying prayers when you're with the one that you love. He wants your heart and your total attention. And if you give him a chance, he will have a word for you. Not necessarily an interior locution, they're rare, but an intuition. Because when you're looking at love and giving it space, you get to know his thoughts, as do lovers on earth. Do you know that the animals have a sense that we haven't? They pick up when you're sad and unhealthy. They pick up a problem in the air. They can even know when you're coming at a distance. They can actually detect a presence. Dogs can feel the real presence. It has been proven. We need to learn, my friends, as we go through life, to be still on every level of our being, which then also manifests itself in our encounter with each other. Receive, don't invade. I conclude, my friends, when we have to do with convincing somebody, it's not made of loud decibels. It's made of just the point of truth, which in a few words, well held up, will do its own thing. Because truth, observed, knows full well how to defend itself. And the person who goes into many decibels is showing that he's not actually in full possession of the truth, because the voice is taking the place of the power of the truth. We as Catholics, and only we as Catholics, have the truth. We have power all the time in our hands. Miracles of different kinds are always happening in our life if we open our eyes, because God blesses what He's done. I conclude. We are still in Eastertide, and each Sunday in Eastertide is Easter Day. Remember the moment when He came back, when He opened His eyes, having gone through the hell of Calvary, the greatest atrocity that one can imagine for a human being. It was all over, and He opened His eyes in the Holy Sepulchre, and His mouth. And this napkin is the imprint of that moment. We have the Holy Shroud, which is not the napkin, in Turin. This we have in Manopello. It's the napkin of which the Gospel speaks. One is death with blood. This is the actual second at which He awoke, and with all Calvary behind, was able to say without saying a thing, "Have no fear. I have